Hey, welcome back to another episode. Last time we did things that influenced the world, like from Denmark, right? How does Denmark influence the rest of the world? So this time we're going to be checking out 10 incredible Danish inventions and discoveries. So I figured this would be a great topic to explore after after doing the last one, and I had a couple people suggest it too after doing it. So we're going to check this out. 10 incredible Danish inventions and discoveries. FTD Facts is the original channel, and you can find the link to that in the description section down below. As always, we're going to jump into it and find out about these 10 incredible Danish inventions and discoveries on the coolest YouTube channel on planet Earth is HappyRun, by the way.
Countries in particular, we always ask ourselves, what are those countries famous for? We look at countries like America, we know that it created the atomic bomb, we know that it made pizza a worldwide
Pizza,
famous
cool.
thing.
Pizza's cool. Bombs, though? I don't know about the bombs.
We look at England, they invented tea their own particular way. Of course, it came from other countries. We look at France, they created mayonnaise. But when we look at the country of Denmark, we don't necessarily think to ourselves, gee, what was that country famous for? Especially when we're looking at its inventions. So,
well, the architecture, I love it. Not necessarily specific to Denmark. Looks like they have a lot of that same architecture in quite a few countries over there. Looks similar to Netherlands architecture to me, but what do I know? You know, I'm just going by the pictures that I've saw. But Norway, see a lot of Norwegian houses, I think, that look like that.
welcome to FTD Facts, the channel where I look at people, cultures, and places from all around the world. My name is Dave Walpole, and let's get learning about Denmark and
all
learn
around
about
the
some
world.
really amazing, fascinating inventions that you probably use today that were created in Denmark or perhaps even by the Danish.
Legos, guys. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to this original channel, by the way. You guys should probably go there too. Like I said, links to the original video is in the description section down below. Go over there, show the original channel some love because this looks like it's going to be a good video.
And of course, why I say invented by the Danish, because some of these particular inventions that I'm going to talk about, they were funded or created in other countries, but there was a Danish person that was the father or mother of these particular inventions.
Okay, so the windmill. Is that Danish? I know they're famous for the windmills in the Netherlands. I don't know that they were invented there. I don't know. I mean, I should know by now. I've done a ton of reaction videos to it, but I forget a lot of stuff too. So yeah, we're going to find out.
Inventions. But let's get cracking. Just an FYI for all you Danes out there, if you want to learn more about your country, I got some cool playlists, but I'm going to talk about that throughout this video. They might be
there you go, guys.
cards for you guys to check out at any time, so feel free to give those a peek. Now, Denmark is usually declared one of the greatest nations to live. It is peaceful, it is progressive, it's got great economy, and it's got an education system that is just wow. I mean, if it wasn't for its education, you would not have these inventions at all, period, end of story. So let's start off with the biggest one, the one that you most likely use every day at least once a week, and that is Google Maps. Now, Google Maps, of course, started in Australia with an Australian.
Yeah, I heard about this in the last video that I did. How does Danish influence the rest of the world? Go check that if you haven't seen that video. It's pretty good.
Company. This was known as Where To Technologies, and it began around 2003. Now, originally they started off by digitally mapping locations, but when they figured out how to put this into a browser or an app known as Expedition, that's when Google was like, we kind of want this. We want this so bad. This was great. This was during the time when Google actually did something to help your fellow man, and it wasn't just for a buck. Sorry, Google. And it was only shortly after, in 2005, that the company had bought the program, which now is known as Google Maps. But what people don't really know is that the two major inventors behind this were two Danish brothers. And these were Jens and Lars Ilstrup Rasmussen. And as a matter of fact, not only being Danish, it was also Jens' idea to put a pin into Google Maps instead of using a star or anything ridiculous like that. And the reason was because pretty much stars are too distracting on the screen, and a pin is just a little bit nicer and a little more accurate. On a
Yeah, and it's like, you know, in real life, like if you had an old school map on your wall, you put like a little stick pin on there. Makes sense.
Side note, as for
Keep
his
it real.
brother Lars, he actually left Google and ended up joining Facebook in 2010. And he actually developed what is known as the graph search for Facebook, which is pretty much Facebook's search algorithm that you use pretty much every single day. So there you go,
Okay.
guys. We got 2 for 1, or I guess you could theoretically say 2 for 2 because there's 2 guys and they had 2 different inventions. Maybe? I don't know. I'm lost. Moving right along, let's talk about one of the most important inventors from Denmark. Now, he's old. He is from way back in the day, and he is pretty much one of the biggest father figures of inventions from Denmark.
And I don't know who they're talking about. Let me know down below if you knew before he's about to tell you, right? How smart are you guys?
In the 20th century. This guy is known as Vladimir Polsen, and he was pretty much a radio technology guy. Not only did he invent his own version of the arc converter, or a Polsen arc, in 1903, basically
I don't know what a Polsen arc is. I'm gonna have to check into that, but he'll probably tell me. But
this was an early form of radio transmission that was used by many different stations in the early 1900s.
oh,
And of course,
okay.
there were many others of this type around the world. As a matter of fact, the Polsen one found home specifically in the United States Navy. The reason due to this is because the Polsen arc was the only one that could be used in a mobile setting. And as a matter of fact, his technology was used in the early 1900s for about an entire decade until his whole invention was replaced by those vacuum tube things that they used to use.
Nice. And I noticed this one right here says made in Holland. So shout out to you Dutchy viewers. I know you guys are out there watching me. You guys made this bulb as well.
So Vladimir himself, he was born in Copenhagen, Denmark in 1869. But he also went on to invent something else that we actually still use today. You know those little magnetic strip cards that you have on the back of your credit card, or you use to open doors in hotels? Well, he invented...
I got a bunch right here in my wallet. I'm not going to show them to you. They're mine, but they're there. That's crazy.
The thing called magnetic storage. Sure, you may not use those magnetic strips on your credit card anymore, and you might not use the magnetic cards for hotels.
Maybe it's not magnetic then. Yeah, no, we use the black strips. There's the chips too, though. They do have the chips in there. That's pretty much more common now, but they have the strip on there.
That's kind of an older technology, but it's still used somewhat today. And of course, they were used in floppy disks. Let's be perfectly honest. If we didn't have that technology, we wouldn't have floppy disks. And I know they don't hold a lot of information. Back in the day when computers were really, really young, 70s, 80s, all that stuff, floppy disks were really important.
Oh yeah, the floppy was, where was that?
As a matter of fact, this also evolved out of his technology known as the magnetic recorder, which was invented in 1898 and was used up until about the 1950s for things like audio recording, and throughout history, it's been used for flight recorders. Get it? That guy's got like 3 crazy inventions that we used all the time. As a matter of fact, we're still using flight recorders today. I mean, sure, I think the technology is a little bit different from magnetic storage. I mean, when planes go down, that's how you find these people.
Right, but the dude started that. So if he didn't start that, then once the technology got to that other point, then they wouldn't have took it and progressed it to a different level because they wouldn't have already been at that level to begin with, right?
Find out what happened to the plane. It was important. Now, I don't know about you guys, if you guys listen to rock and roll and a lot of like loud music. For me, I know I'm going to need hearing aids at like 65 because I just blare my Aerosmith all the time. And oh man, it's so good, but it's going to cost me later on in life. But if you like loud music, you might be surprised to know that the Danish created the loudspeaker first. The father inventor of this was Peter Jensen.
Really? Okay, the loudspeaker. Now, there was already regular speakers, right? They just did the loud, like, turned it into the loudspeakers, right?
That the Danish created the loudspeaker first. The father inventor of this was Peter Jensen, who was born in Falster, Denmark on May 16th, 1886. As a matter of fact, in 1905, he was an apprentice for Vladimir Polsen as well, so there you go. But as for Peter, it was his loudspeaker that was known as the Magnavox that was developed in 1915. And if you don't think this is important, well, you're wrong, because Magnavox,
like the brand?
There you go. But as for Peter, it was his loudspeaker that was known as the Magnavox that was developed in 1915. And if you don't think this is important, well, you're wrong, because not only the fact did militaries use this way back in the day, but on top of that, Fender used it as one of their first amplifiers for their guitars because they were saying, yo, it's the best quality out of all the speakers around the world. So there you go. The Danish strike back again. By the way, just giving you guys a little correction, I just realized this now. If at any time I said Vladimir, I think it's Vladimir. It's not Vladimir. I probably mispronounced his name at some point.
It's not Putin. It's the other guy, Vladimir.
Making that correction now. It's Vladimir Polsen. You know, you hear the word Vladimir from time to time, and
not
it just gets in your head. You know, it's terrible. Now, for all you heavy drinkers out there, you may want to thank the Danish. I know.
When was this made? I want to see when this video came out, guys. Okay, a couple years ago, 3 years ago. He would have had a different thought about that name now. Yeah. All right, no politicalness. Let's just watch it.
You know, it's terrible. Now, for all you heavy drinkers out there, you may want to thank the Danish. I know the Germans are all big for inventing beer, but also, you know, it couldn't have gotten better without the Carlsberg Yeast, and that came from Denmark. Now, the Carlsberg Yeast, or the S. Carlsberg Genesis, was discovered by Emil Christian Hansen in 1883. Now, I'm not really sure how the whole science of this works, but apparently after this, it prevented people from getting beer sickness. Now, I'm not talking getting sick from drinking alcohol. I'm talking you have a beer and then you get sick in other shapes. It's not a hangover sick. And apparently this was discovered by isolating a certain type of cell that's a yeast cell. Again, I don't really know the science of it. I don't really drink that much beer anymore. Okay, let's move along. Let's talk about guns. Chick, chick, boom. That's literally, I don't think guns do that. They don't go chick, chick, boom. They go like... Either way, believe it or not, the Danish were the people who created the light machine gun. I didn't know that. I always thought the Americans would have done it first, maybe the British. But nope, it was the Danish.
The light machine gun. Maybe that's not a good invention. I mean, guns can be used for good. They can definitely be used for bad as well. So, I don't know.
Of course, guys, some of you gun enthusiasts out there, you're going to argue with me on this one, and you're going to say, well, no, the Vickers was first, and there was also the Maxim gun and the Gatling gun. Yeah, those are machine guns, but they're not classified as a light machine gun. And basically what I mean is you can pick that thing up. You don't need a bipod. You could just shoot it, and that's that. Sure, of course, maybe you could do that with a Vickers, but you ain't going to shoot it accurately. You need a bipod for it. It's just a heavy gun. Basically, the first gun that is classified in the world as a light machine gun was the Madsen Machine Gun. This was invented by Julius A. Rasmussen, which, by the way, what's with all the names Rasmussen in Denmark? It's like two inventors with the same last name. It's crazy. Are they related?
Maybe.
In any shape or form? On top of that, there was also Theodore Chabot, who made it for Colonel Wilhelm Hermann Olaf Madsen. All three are Danish, and of course, the colonel is the one who gets the gun named after him because he purchased it, theoretically. But on top of that, it was also the first light machine gun to be purchased by an entire army, and that was the Danish Armed Forces. As a matter of fact, this weapon from its beginning was very well designed, that it had many different calibers and was bought by 34 different countries. And on top of that, it was used for over 100 years since its introduction in 1902. It's crazy. I don't know who was using it in 2002, but I guess some countries were. Okay, here's one small, little tiny one that I really, really like. And I mean, I'm all about Christmas. I don't know about you guys. I mean, probably a lot of you guys are from Denmark watching this video, so you guys are probably just as holly jolly with it as much as I am. But you know those little tiny little Christmas post-it stamps that you get, Christmas stickers that you get that are on your letters? You know what I mean?
So.
Do people even give Christmas letters anymore? I mean,
no.
I kind of feel like fake.
Now, I was remembering back to the 90s, but I've seen those back in the day.
Facebook and Instagram and text messaging has kind of ruined that. Literally, guys, I dare you, next year, throw your phones away. Well, don't actually throw them away because they're expensive, but put them down and instead mail somebody a letter and see how far it goes. You know that cute girl that you've been wanting to, you know, have a date with? Try sending her a letter, see what happens. Think outside the box, man. But anyways, getting back to those little tiny Christmas-themed Post-it stamps, they were created by Denmark. And actually, I like this one because it was done for kids. Now, you might be thinking, was it done for kids to make them happy-go-lucky? No, not for that. It was to help raise money for tuberculosis. As a matter of fact, back in the early days of the 1900s, I mean, we all think the world is dark. Oh my God, the economy is going to crap. Everybody treats each other like garbage. Meh. Well, let's be perfectly honest. We didn't have muddy streets, and of course, we didn't have a major tuberculosis outbreak. But for this particular stamp, it was invented by Einar Holbal in 1904. And this actually turned out to be very prosperous because within 6 years, they managed to raise enough money to buy a hospital for kids with tuberculosis. And this money was actually made to build the Christmas Seal Sanatorium, which actually the Christmas Seal Fund still exists today. This also became so well known that other countries like Sweden and the rest of the Nordic countries did it very quickly. Even in America, thanks to a woman named Emily Bessel who read about it, she was like, we need to start doing this as well. So yeah, go the Danish for just doing something really awesome and for kids. Awesome. You guys are just great.
Yeah, I remember
And last but not least, guys, considering we're on the topic of kids, let's talk about Lego. I love Lego. I still got boxes
Legos
of this stuff.
But I don't love stepping on them barefoot. That sucks.
In my mom's basement. It's crazy. Lego first started off as the Lego Group, which was a carpentry workshop and was run by Ole Kirk Christensen. Now, this was located in Billund, Denmark, and Christensen had been doing carpentry since about 1895. Now, he finally opened a shop in 1916, and he started flourishing doing carpentry work. Unfortunately, by 1924, his first shop burned down, and as a matter of fact, it burned down again even later. And although they did build a new shop by 1932, unfortunately, because of the economic crisis, he was really having a hard time finding carpentry work. So therefore, he took his company and they decided to make toys. Of course, after this is when, that second fire happened. But in about 1942, plastic became readily available for consumers to use. And from there on, he started making little blocks, which was inspired from a previous patent. And by 1945, his little blocks were called automatic binding bricks, which eventually by 1951 was renamed to Lego. And
because automatic binding bricks sounds like.
if you didn't know, the term Lego comes from the Danish words legot. I think that's actually how you say it. I know you guys are cringing in the comment section saying he's pronouncing it so wrong, but come on, give me a break. I'm Canadian. I'm trying, all right? But either way, that apparently means in a rough translation, play well. So I guess.
Okay, I knew that. I just forgot.
Hey, I played well when I was playing with Lego as a kid. And as a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to go do that right now. Hey, but before you guys get out of here, for all you people who are from Denmark or just people who want to learn more about the Danish, learn more about Denmark, be sure to hit the cards in this.
There you have it, guys. 10 incredible Danish inventions and discoveries. Legos, duh. So hit like, hit subscribe, and have a super fun, awesome day. Take care.